In this lecture, we're going to take a good look at the user interface Windows. Now, let's go inside of Unity, and you might not have the same setup as I do. Now, what is a window? Well, here on the left side, I have a window, and if I go next to the edge of the right edge of that window, I can actually move that window. As you can see, I can make it bigger and smaller. I can expand it. I can also close it. Now, I'm not going to close it right now, but I could show you that you can easily click on that window. This is the hierarchy window, and I can right click on it and close the tab. All right, so it's very similar to how you would use a web browser where you can move things around, and all of these are tabs. So the main one that you see in the center is the one that shows the final project. Now I'm going to do something very simple so that you guys can see that, and please do so. Click on game object and then click on 2D object because we are in 2D here, and you can click on sprite. All right, and as you can see, it says new sprite here. Now you don't see anything happening here because we do not have a sprite, and I'm going to show you how to quickly add a sprite. Okay, so let's go on the internet, and here just go to let's say openclipart, openclipart.org, and grab a clip art. So I'm gonna type, let's say, bottle, and I'm going to take this the first bottle, this one, the water bottle is good enough, and I'm going to download it, and I need to download as a PNG file because it has alpha transparency. I'm going to take it as a small image. I don't need a big one. All right, now that I have it, I'm going to do show in Finder, just locate it, and we're going to drag and drop this into our project. So go to Unity, and now I drag and drop this inside of my assets. All right, and let go. Okay, so let me do it again. Drag, go back to Unity and drop it here. Now what I want to do is that I want to show you that you see a plus sign. You guys see the green plus sign? That means that it's about to get dropped right there. All right, so I let go, and now I have the aqua bottle that's here. I'm gonna rename this to just bottle so that I know that it's a bottle. All right, now it's not usable straight. You have to make sure that inside of the inspector window on the top right, that this is a sprite. It should be a sprite, but in some computers, sometimes some versions of Unity do not add this as a sprite. So make sure this is a sprite and click on apply in the bottom right if you don't have that yet. All right, and now I'm going to take that bottle and drag and drop it inside of my hierarchy. And here we go. We have a bottle that we can see in the game. So that's what your game is about. In this game tab, you will see what's happening inside of your game. That's exactly what the player will see. And if you go to the scene tab, the one right next to it, here you actually see the whole project, the whole level or scene that you have right now. And you can start moving things around. You can just select this and move it around. And as you're moving it around, you'll see that inside of the game, it got moved. Look, I'm going to move it even more to the left. And if I go to the game, I see that it moved to the left. All right, so now the beauty of the scene is that you can actually move things around a lot easier than if you are in the game. Actually, in the game, you cannot click anywhere because that's the final render. That's what people actually see. Okay, so going back to the different tabs. The one on all the way to the top, you have this is not even a tab, this is the interface here. And as you can see, it has a hand, and it has, these are all the manipulation that you can do on objects and items. So I'm not going to go into details yet, but these are meant to manipulate objects inside of your scene. And then right below, you have the hierarchy. The hierarchy shows you every object that you have inside of your game. And if you take a look at it, we have the bottle because we just added it. We have a new sprite because we clicked on game object to the object sprite, which added a sprite. And this sprite is not showing because it's empty yet. And then we have a main camera. Now, the camera is what allows us to see the game inside of the game tab. And if you remove the camera, you right click and click on delete. Guess what? It says there's no camera rendering. So do not delete it. You can always edit and undo this so that you can see it. Or if somehow you lose this camera, you know, if somehow you deleted the camera and you don't know what happened, you can always go back to game object, camera, and this would add a new camera. Now you may have to place the camera at the right position, but that's the way to add a camera. You can always press Ctrl Z multiple times to get back your items. So that is the hierarchy. All right, the next thing that you want to know is that you have all the way to the right the inspector. Now the inspector shows you the details of the current object that is selected. And it says here, the current object that is selected is the main camera, and it's enabled. If you click here, this will disable the camera. So I still have the camera, but it does not work anymore. It's not part of the current level. So just re-enable it, and you can give it a tag. There's plenty of properties. You know, you can change the position, the rotation, and many different settings. Now, one setting that I can show you is the background. You can just click on the actual color and change that to, let's say, red, and in no time this will change the background from the bluish color to the red, and that's how we can see it. Okay, so that's just a shortcut, but we're going to go into more details later. All right, so next to the inspector is usually the navigation. You should have the navigation tab, and don't worry about the navigation tab right now. We barely get to use this. That's a bit more advanced whenever we want to create people that are going through objects in a scene. You might have the services and you might not have them. If somehow you don't see the same thing as I do, that's not a problem. These are not very important, and you can actually get them by going to the window tab, and these are all the specific windows that we can have inside of this Unity project or any other Unity project. Now, something important is that here it says window, but these are actually not windows. These are actually tabs. So it says windows and then it says tabs, so it's a bit confusing, but Unity, it's about the same for Unity, tabs and windows. All right, so if you click on window, you can click on services or command O, and that will bring up the services. And by default, the services end up on the right side. So don't worry if you don't see them, that's how you can bring them up. And if somehow you don't see the same way as I see the stuff, you can always go back to layouts and then revert factory settings. Okay, so if I click here, this will go back to how it was that Unity wants to be, the official way of Unity. So click on continue, and that will bring up all the way just how it was at the beginning. Now, when you do that, it seems that in the hierarchy things are gone, but they're not. They just you just need to expand it again to see them again. All right, so that's pretty much the gist of it. You can always click back on your account and go to your account online. You can add layers, but it's and choose different layers, but you don't need to do this most of the time. I'm just showing you the essential part. And the last essential part is the bottom part, which is the project and the console. Now the project has the assets folder, and you can add your own folder into it. You can right click and create another folder. And I'm going to call this one child folder 1, because it's a child folder of the main assets folder. And you can put anything you want inside. I can drag and drop the bottle inside of that folder. So if I click on the child folder, I see the bottle. So here in the assets, you see all the assets that's inside of your project, and you can actually right click and reveal in Finder, and that shows you the actual assets inside of your hard drive. It's important whenever you want to move files. Now, something important is also in the bottom right corner, you will see some kind of a slider here, and this slider is meant to be used to make the assets smaller or bigger. If I go all the way to the right, it makes the items as big as possible, and I can actually see their icon too. And if I click on the child folder, you can see my bottle is as big as it could get. And if I take that slider and go all the way to the left, it's so small that it doesn't even, almost doesn't show the icon, but it shows the text the biggest way. And if you click on this actual bottle, you will see in the bottom right corner, all the way to the bottom right, the actual sprite. This is the actual renderer, so that you can actually move things around and see how things are. You can make it bigger, and that will make it bigger. So it's to take a good look of the object without adding it to your scene. Okay, so that's a very brief introduction to all the things that you can use inside of Unity. And the final one is the console. I did not go too much into details because whenever you want to display some kind of a message or when something goes wrong, then it will display here in the console. Now, only you, the programmer or developer, can see the console. The people playing your game will not see the console. People playing your game only see the actual game renderer. That's all they see. Alright, see you guys in the next lecture.